Hey, what's going on, guys? Niamh Kingsley here. I'm extremely excited to announce the beginning of the new tutorial series here on koNLPy's channel involving Python programming, natural language processing, and a bit of a web scraping techniques as well. And despite the fact that I'm no longer doing web scraping tutorials and no longer working as a freelancer specializing in web scraping, still the skills that I did obtain doing that sort of a things would be extremely helpful. So I really hope that this sort of a tutorial series would be really interesting and useful for the vast majority of the subscribers that are currently forming the community behind this koNLPy channel. By the way, without this community, this channel is really nothing. So before anything else, guys, I just really want, before actually describing what the project is gonna be all about, first I want to make it a very important emphasis on how this project is going to be different from everything else I've been doing here on on koNLPy's channel, and why exactly, and why am I so excited, and why am I extremely interested in making this sort of a project. So here is the deal. For those of you who are working as freelancers like I did in the past, you probably know that it's all about all the programming is actually it's all about solving clients' issues. So the client has a problem and you need to provide an implementation. You need to provide the code implementing the solution that would be capable of solving this sort of a particular issue, and that's the exact thing that you're actually getting paid for. So not really the code itself, but you're getting paid for a solution. So those of you freelancers know this really good. Okay, so here is the deal. I've been at the point, I've been sharing the point of view of the most developers, like when you don't really, so the issue is that quite often it happens for freelancers that you don't really understand. You might not always be clearly understanding why exactly your client might be needing the thing that he actually needs. You may have a general understanding like why he needs this, but you don't really actually feel that, and that's a bit of an issue. So how this project is different, I need to say that the main reason why I'm actually doing this is I'm gonna be the end user of this sort of a project. So I'm learning Korean on my own, and I'm extremely interested in having this sort of a tool that would be coding along within this sort of a series. So again, like being not only the developer but being actually the end user and kind of like a client is very interesting and a really new experience for me. And I really think that bearing in mind this sort of a fact, it would be even more interesting to follow this tutorial series, because it won't be that that tutorials where you're just going for technical details without always having a clear idea why exactly this is needed for. So here I can describe the exact need behind this sort of a solution. So let me just first describe the issue, and then I'll describe the solution, and then we'll break down the technical parts that would be involved within this project in order to make it, in order to bring it to life, basically. So the issue is the following. So if you just go to Google Translate and try and let's say you just try to pick up a phrase, right? You just go into Google Translate and you can get a valid and very decent translation of the phrase that you're interested in. So let's imagine, well, I personally, I'm acquiring lots of Korean content currently, like K-dramas, like some subtitles from YouTube videos, like auto-generated subtitles, etc. So I'm really interested in having an ability to for translation, but it's not the matter of the bare translation, like it's not the matter of understanding what the sentence is talking about. So this one in particular is so tomorrow, because tomorrow would be colder than today, I think I should wear warm clothes. So I'm not interested in just knowing what is the sentence is all about, right? I am actually interested in breaking down this sentence grammatically, so I would know what the part of speech every single kind of word within the sentence actually represents. So so the issue definition, I want to build a vocabulary out of the input text, and that's kind of it. So I have an input text, and I just want to split this into words, like break down all this entire sentence into words, and then I want to classify every single word, whether this is a noun, adjective, verb, adverb, particle, etc. And then I want to clearly say within the end table, I want to say the type of the verb, the type of the word, right? So what type it is. I also want to have the translation. If this is the verb, potentially I might want to have the conjugated forms of that verb. So that's kind of the initial idea. But with the Google Translate, the problem is it kind of goes translated this sort of thing generally, and in order to get the word, in order to get the meaning of the single word, at very least we need to split them like by by the spaces, right? And this is already the matter of the tokenization of the input string or whatever input text. So, but this doesn't work that good enough, because let's say this Neirun, it consists of two words actually, like the word Neir, which means tomorrow, and the in, which is the topic marking particle. So ideally, the tokenized sentence would look like this. And here is the first issue. So, okay, like before going to the technical discussion, let's actually go back to this sort of the global issue definition. So the idea is the following. So the way how I originally tried to go was the following. So I was just trying to manually type in the words, and this is the output result of what I came up with so far. So all these words, I did type them by hand, but it's not because I couldn't automate the process. I was thinking that typing this kind of words by hands would benefit the matter of memorization of that words, but that is not so, and this doesn't really work. I can say this like from the practitioner's perspective. At least in my case, this doesn't really work. So another kind of idea that I'm extremely interested in trying is the following. So let's say we're not trying to memorize all the Korean words in the world, right? And we're not even trying to memorize all the Korean words that regard, say, to foods, to sports, to like work, to programming, to like Korean chess, Jangi, whatever. So that's too broad. So we do divide and conquer things even more. So here is the idea. We can use either a single phrase or a bunch of phrases, like several phrases, several sentences, or a dialogue, whatever input text that has some limitations regarding the scope of the things that are being discussed within this sort of a bunch of text. So that's the idea. And then when we have this dedicated piece of text, we can then split this into the words. We can then define the type of the words, and we can get the translation for every single word, and potentially for the verbs we might go for verb conjugation. I didn't yet take the decision whether I'm actually going to be doing that or not. So this is not really the most essential thing here currently at the moment. So we're not going to be covering this at the moment for now. If it comes ever, that would be the separate tutorial where I would be describing this in great details. Okay, so and I really believe the fact that this sort of an approach would allow to like dynamically generating the vocabulary for a specific topic that I'm currently learning, right? So let's say I just have a Korean dialect, and I just generate this sort of a table out of this text, and I can quickly walk through the words. Maybe I don't, maybe I'm not going to be, maybe I won't memorize them instantly, and obviously I won't, but at least I would be having the kind of overall structure, and apart from the bare translation, the type, like is this the verb, adjective, or whatever, it's even more important to say at least. So I hope at this point the global issue definition is clear. So from now on we can actually go through the technical part of how exactly this is going to be implemented in Python and what kind of libraries will we need in order to get this. So this is the introductional video. There would be a little bit of a coding that I just want to briefly demonstrate some of the core ideas, but the actual coding of the actual project will start from the next video. So you just feel free to skip to the next one if you're interested in directly going and code this sort of a thing. Okay, so and one last thing that before anything else, I want to give a credit to Niamh Kingsley, who actually did something similar, but the place where she has stopped, and again, like the issue definitions and everything I've said so far is literally almost like a word by word describing what is written here in this article. I really love this because when I've been reading through this article, I felt like as if I did write this on my own, because all the problems from the Korean learner's perspective are really similar, and I was really happy to see that someone else has the same problems, the same issues that I do, and the solution that she gives is very, very fantastic, because I would be highly relying on her ideas. I just want to bring them to a little bit of a next level. So, and the matter of the next level is actually this dynamic jQuery data tables plugin based representation that potentially would be what that should be dynamically rendered via Python. And it also allows to search by the keywords, by Korean, by English, by categories, by multiple categories. So it's a very powerful framework on its own. So together it should be really, really useful. So yeah, so just wanted to give her credit because this is an absolutely amazing resource. I'll give you a link in the description below this video. Just read through this and enjoy it exactly the same way I did, because this is really awesome. Okay, now let's actually go through the technical steps that we'll need to go through in order to get this completed project. And the list of libraries that well, actually, I would probably be using only 2 libraries and only one library that Niamh used here. So she uses the Google Translate library, which currently doesn't work. I've just checked that out because they've changed something on Google Translate. So I would be doing that manually, as one of my tutorials already showed. And I will probably be using some Flask branch to generate like this static Jinja template renderer. I guess that's the proper name for it. Okay, so anyway, the first and the most essential library to introduce is the Korean Natural Language Processing Library, which is called koNLPy. So I've already installed this library, and I'll show you how to install this when it comes to the actual implementation. And for now, let me just show you the relevant part of the documentation and the particular snippet that we would be using in our project. Okay, so we would be using the only class that we would be using is called OKT class, which stands for Open Korean Text, and this is the tokenizer, the wrapper for tokenizer written in Scala. And the idea is that as an input, it takes the Korean phrase as an input, and it not only tokenizes it, but it also defines which kind of speech this sort of a token is. So without further ado, let's actually go for a very quick demonstration. So if I just invoke my Python here, and just don't really remember how to import this, so let me just grab the line, and I'm doing import the line, and now I want to create the instance of the OKT class. So OKT is equal to OKT, and I want to well, that's actually, yeah, we would be using print. Sorry guys, I just grabbed the line because, yeah, so print phrases. Also can part the phrases, which is, well, probably I don't realize the true power behind this kind of thing yet. So I just try the most simple example that I've already been through. And instead of this text, I will use my own text here. So this favorite. favorite Korean phrase, and hold on a sec, I just need to grab it from here. Okay. Sorry guys, just because of the new line it doesn't work properly. Hold on a sec. Let me try this one more time. Okay, create the instance, and here it goes. Okay. I have no idea why this is so laggy, to be honest. Yeah, and here we go. So we have this nail, which means tomorrow, and this is the noun. We have the object, the topic marking particle in. I'm not sure what Jose means, and also why the Boda is considered to be Jose. So I need to make a little bit of research regarding this stuff. But anyway, we have the tokenized phrase, and every single token has the associated part of speech name being attached to it. And this is the very first step. So the very first step that we would be taking along within our project is to tokenize the Korean phrase, and then we'll loop over all of these phrases. Well, obviously we would be forming the data set where there would be not only this kind of like Korean, but and not only the part of speech, but also the translation. Possibly there would be the conjugated forms for the verbs like present, past, future, etc. So I'm not really sure that much about this, but so we'll see. But the next step, the next essential step would be to translate this stuff. So again, like in the original blog post, they did use Google Translate library, but again, like for some reason, probably because the Google on the there something has changed on Google's site, it doesn't really work. So once I made a tutorial how to use the Google Translate API in order to translate this kind of phrases. This is fairly simple. I'll just duplicate that sort of a tutorial one more time in regards to Korean in particular. So we would be going for automated sort of a thing. So just open my developer tools, and let's actually go to the network, and here I just paste this in. So here is okay. I'm not really sure. Batch execute. Yeah, I'm sorry guys, just did they change something in? Hold on a sec. Okay, I'm extremely sorry guys, just been a little bit of stuck with this new new way to use this Google Translate API, which is definitely not probably that intended to be used in that way, however it's still possible. So first, the first thing to consider is that the way how the request is made is now slightly different compared to how it was when I've been making that tutorial. But here is the response. Here is the response where we can see the actual translation is available right over in here. So it's available here. It also does give some more, probably does give all of this guys here as well, but we have the source to extract data from. So it's going to be a little bit of a headache to go for this web scraping like data extraction from the Google Translate, but hopefully this is going to be working. So yeah, it would be another good update of koNLPy. It would be another good update on the video on Google Python script to translate phrases using Google Translate API. So that's kind of it. But not even phrases would be going for a single word every kind of time. So yeah, that's the case. So this is the next phrase. We'll need to get the translation and associate that sort of a translation with the initial Korean word that we have. And the last but not least step would be to go for the process of auto generation. This like jQuery data tables plugin it's able to present the data set to the user, to me in this case. Yeah, so I could work with the text. Well, probably some additional specific information would get involved as well. I'm not sure yet how exactly I'm going to be doing this, but I hope that the gist essence behind the project's idea is now clear, and I hope it's also clear regarding the particular specific tools that would be involved in order to complete this sort of a project. So yeah, unfortunately, Google Translate seems slightly a little bit too overwhelming here. But even if it doesn't work, we can try to go for some different services. So probably there is some sort of an easier way to go for that. Like especially if we're not trying to translate the entire phrase, but if we're trying to translate a single word, this probably I would even go for somewhat a different service. I didn't yet just make that research, but I hope the idea is clear. So we take the input Korean sentence, we take the Korean sentence as an input, then we do breakdown this into tokens, then every token gets associated with a part of speech, then every token gets translated, and we do associate the translation with the current token. Potentially, if this is the verb, we can potentially go for some verb conjugation stuff, and here is an amazing resource called verbix.com that is taking the verb as an input, and then we can just go for web scraping this kind of like this sort of conjugated verb forms to add them to our dynamically rendered table as well. Okay guys, so I think this is it from my side. I'm not sure if you're as excited as I am about this, but again, like from the Korean learner's perspective, I think this is something that is going to boost my Korean learning process. At very least, I really I'd bet on that. I would say so. So thanks for watching. I really hope to see you in the next upcoming tutorials within this sort of a series. There would be several videos. I'm not sure how many, but I just really want to break down all this stuff into the chunks to highlight all the core things within every single state, within every single part in particular. And again, like I really want to keep this live coding format to make it as interactive as possible and as useful as possible for you guys. So this is it for my side. Thanks for watching. Until the next time, and take care.